Now to the latest on the pandemic. Here in New York, all major indicators continue to trend down. That includes new cases. Despite that, though, 306 New Yorkers lost their battle with the virus. Also, more than 1,000 city workers will now patrol parks and public spaces to help enforce social distancing. The city tripled its testing capacity with the goal to perform 43,000 tests per week by mid-May. And this week, the city will hand out 100,000 free face coverings at those city parks, and 275,000 will be distributed citywide. Well, starting next Wednesday, the subway will shut down from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. That's so crews can disinfect the trains and the buses. Metro North and LIRR will not be impacted by this. It all comes as the number of confirmed COVID infections in New York State topped 300,000. 27,806 have now died in the tri-state from this horrible virus. News 4's Andrew Siff joining us live now on the Upper East Side with the historic move, Andrew, to shut down these subways overnight.
Right. Well, Natalie, this is rush hour right now, which, of course, rush hour doesn't mean the same thing during the pandemic with traffic down 90% on subways. So we're talking about between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. That impacts about 11,000 essential workers who are still using the trains at that hour. They will no longer be able to starting next week. For late night and early morning commuters, the subway is no longer an option.
This is a measure to help ensure the safety of New Yorkers. I think they should.
The city's overdoing it right now with shutting everything down.
Beginning Wednesday, May 6th, every day from 1 to 5 a.m., all subway stations closed. Essential workers who have proper ID can use a free Uber, Lyft, or rideshare to get to work. Bus service also continues.
I would wager in the history of public transportation in this nation, you never had a challenge of disinfecting every train every 24 hours.
But the reason for the shutdown is complicated. The governor said COVID-19 lingers on surfaces aboard subway cars. Yet earlier this week, he pointed to the homeless as the risk factor for those exposed. So here's the solution. The city will send police and outreach teams to remove the homeless every night and offer them some other shelter, a plan that accomplished a political rarity. The mayor and governor on the same page publicly.
The mayor is really stepping up to the plate here and is doing something that no mayor has ever attempted to do before.
Yeah, we're going to do something unprecedented, but we're also going to do something that's going to protect people and offer a new way to get people help who never got enough.
Back live now, you're looking at Metropolitan Hospital, 97th Street and 2nd Avenue, just one block from the entrance to this subway station, an illustration of why it's so critical that essentials workers still able to use mass transit. Instead, they'll be using rideshare. The MTA yet to announce details about how that will work. We're live on the Upper East Side. Andrew Siff, News 4 New York.
All right, Andrew, thank you. Well, today, former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg talked with Governor Cuomo about contact tracing. That's tracing people who've come in contact with someone who's tested positive for coronavirus. Bloomberg has teamed up with the healthcare nonprofit Vital Strategies to develop 3 smartphone apps that help with tracing. The first app would help find information and data. The second app would allow the public to contact health departments. And the third one provides guidance to people in quarantine, and it allows them to report any symptoms.
Well, Natalie, this certainly is a hopeful sign for our city. The USNS Comfort has departed, weighed anchor and gone. The Navy hospital ship in the city arrived on March 30th to relieve stress in the city's hospitals at the height of the coronavirus pandemic. About 182 patients were treated on board the Comfort. 70% of them were COVID positive. And even though the ship is gone now, about 682 medical military personnel are staying behind to help at local hospitals. The ship is now headed for Norfolk, Virginia, where it will be restocked and ready for its next assignment.
Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont says he could start reopening businesses as soon as May 20th. But first, the state would need to see 14 straight days of hospitalization declines. Today's the 8th day in a row that the number of hospitalizations has dropped. The state now reporting 933 new positive cases and 89 deaths. The governor says the strategy would be to reopen gradually over 4 levels.
Maybe there are different categories in there in terms of how big a group. We go with a 5 to 10 now. We can have bigger groups later. Maybe we say everybody over 60 should stay close to a home now. Maybe later on in the season it's over 70.
Retail, grooming services, museums, and outdoor recreation will be part of the initial reopening phase. Restaurants will be restricted to outdoor seating only.
New Jersey is reporting the highest number of daily coronavirus deaths so far, 460 in the last 24 hours, with more than 2,600 new confirmed cases. But all major indicators are down across the state. Hospitalizations declined by 15%. And today, Governor Phil Murphy traveled to the White House to meet with President Trump. News 4's Chris Glorioso is in Jersey City with what was discussed and the new equipment heading to the Garden State.
Despite the dreary weather today, this weekend's expected nice weather could give New Jerseyans a major test on how they will behave outdoors. That's because, of course, as you've been hearing, state and county parks are set to reopen with new restrictions. Meanwhile, Governor Murphy taking his case for fiscal aid straight to the president.
You can't have a better representative than this man, that I can tell you. Plus, he's an old Goldman Sachs guy.
President Trump traded praise with Governor Murphy in their Thursday meeting, but when Murphy brought up the need for $20 to $30 billion to fill the state's staggering budget gap, Trump mostly sidestepped the question.
That's a tough question because you're talking about the states and whether you call it a bailout or a lot of money.
This is to allow us to keep firefighters, teachers, police, EMS on the payroll, serving the communities in their hour of need.
One clear result of the White House meeting, Murphy said the federal government is providing New Jersey with more than 500,000 additional COVID test kits. Here in Jersey City, they're hoping the feds will reimburse for 2,100 tests offered each week. Now, even asymptomatic people can get tested. Mayor Stephen Fulop said the federal government must bail out the states and the cities like his.
If there's a tolerance to bail out big corporations, which they've shown, they need to understand that the regular workers, like here in Jersey City, need the support as well.
As states and municipalities plead for more help funding key services, some of those services are beginning to come back online. In his daily briefing, Governor Murphy urged people to physically distance themselves if they plan to visit one of those state or county parks reopening this weekend.
If we see this weekend what we saw that first weekend in April, I will not hesitate to reverse course and close our parks again.
One reminder, when county and state parks reopen this weekend, the parking lots will only be allowed to handle 50% capacity. Also, golf courses will be permitted to reopen. However, 4 people will only be allowed in the tee box if all 4 people come from the same household. Reporting from Jersey City, Chris Glorioso, News 4, New York.
Well, millions more Americans are joining the unemployment line. Almost 4 million Americans filed for first-time jobless claims last week. 30 million have now filed for claims in just 6 weeks. So this means about 18% of the U.S. workforce is jobless. Well, with this lack of income, there's a growing movement here at home and across the nation for a rent strike, skipping the May rent payment that's due tomorrow, which is May 1st. News 4's Adam Harding is in Elmhurst, Queens, with that part of the story.
Are you paying rent tomorrow?
No, I'm not.
After 40 years of living in this quiet neighborhood, Jairo Nunez is preparing to do something he has never done before, miss paying May's rent due tomorrow for a reason.
We want the government to do something for the tenants, not just for the rich people, not just for the big businesses.
Friday could see the largest rent strike across the country in decades, with millions out of work because of COVID-19. Sia Weaver is with the coalition Housing Justice for All.
Whether or not there is an organized effort, millions of people won't pay their rent tomorrow because you just can't pay rent with money that you don't have.
Owners are very concerned about their tenants, their customers.
Frank Ritchie is with the Rent Stabilization Association. He worries about landlords who might not get paid Friday.
There's tens of thousands of people who work in real estate in the city. The only way they get paid is if the rent gets paid.
I'm advocating for all those people that, because of one reason or another, they don't have the money to pay.
Now, to be clear, it is not everybody who will not be paying rent tomorrow, especially where we are. In fact, a short time ago, we saw somebody drop off their rent check. We did try to speak with somebody here at the leasing office on camera. They sent us a statement later in the day, the management company did, essentially saying in part that they appreciate those tenants who continue to pay their rent. It helps keep this community safer and cleaner. However, they did not directly address the question about May's rent, and again, that is due tomorrow. In Woodside, I'm Adam Harding, News 4 New York.